Thank you for watching the Stephen Mendes channel. We're now performing some tests on the LFO++. We have a waveform there, the bottom waveform in channel 2, which the oscilloscope is synced to, is another oscillator set to exactly the same speed as the center frequency of our LFO++. This will help us to see what's happening as far as the envelope is concerned. Okay, I finally figured out the setting of the amplitude. If you want to regulate the amplitude with your envelope, you have to back off this control like this. Okay, observe how that's set. If you're only going to be setting the speed, then you can put it to maximum like that. So that's what you want to do. Set this amplitude control to maximum if you're only regulating the speed, and if you're regulating the speed and the amplitude, back it down to what's that, 3 o'clock? Back it down a quarter turn there. Okay? So we're going to put the speed. Now the speed plus and minus is correct. When you set the speed to plus, it's faster, and when you set the speed to minus, it's slower. And when you set the amplitude to plus, it's higher, and when you set the amplitude to minus, it's lower. But what actually happens is that that's the final speed and final amplitude that you get. So if you set the speed here to plus, when you press the gate, it will start slow and increase to the maximum you set. And when you set the speed to minus and you press the gate, it will start fast and reduce to the lowest you set it to. And the same is true with the amplitude. When you set the amplitude to plus and you press the key, it will start at 0 and increase to the maximum you set it to. And when you set it to minus, it will start high and gradually decay to practically nothing, which is what you set it to. So that takes care of all those 3 amplitudes. Now as far as the time is concerned, the decay becomes an attack when you have it working to increase, and it becomes a decay when it's actually decaying. So if the final is higher than the beginning, then it's an attack, and if the final is lower than the beginning, then it's a decay. Now what happens with the sustain? What happens with the sustain is that the sustain becomes a delay. If you're raising it, if you're starting from 0 and raising it, then the sustain becomes a delay before the onset of modulation. And then if you're going in the other direction, if you're going from high to low, then the sustain becomes a sustain at the maximum before the decay starts. So it's really quite a straightforward thing. And now I've figured it out, I'm just going to show it to you on the oscilloscope. Okay, you can always combine a speed and an amplitude change together, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to keep them separate, okay, at first, and then I can do a combination. Okay, so let's start with a 0 gradually increasing to maximum speed or amplitude. Let's go with the speed first. It's going to increase. So what do? We set it to the maximum speed that we want it to be. So we turn the speed control in the plus direction. Okay? And because we're only dealing with speed, we maximize the amplitude so we can see it. Now when we touch a key or trigger a gate, it starts from slow and it increases to what we just had it set to with the control, according to the settings of the sustain and decay time. Alright, so let's go in the other direction now. We want to start with a high speed and go to a slow speed. So we put the final slow speed, we turn it in the negative direction and put the final slow speed. We can make it as slow as the waveform that's holding our sync. There you go. And what we do now is when we strike a key, what happens when we get it? When we get it, it goes fast and then it slows down to this final value. There you go. Gradually slowing down to the final value that we had. There you go. Okay? So now let's do the amplitude one, shall we? What we do now is we put the speed back to the detent position. The detent position is in the center of travel, neither plus nor minus. And because we're dealing with amplitude now, in order for us to see it, we have to back off the fixed amplitude to about 3 o'clock so that it's kind of small there. Okay, so we've backed off the amplitude till we can hardly see a wave. Now once again, let's deal with the amplitude control. If we turn the amplitude control in the plus direction, that's going to give us the maximum amplitude that we're going to rise to. So now we get it and we go from 0 to that. It builds up to that. There we go. Now if we want to go in the other direction, we set our amplitude to the negative, and that's what it will end up as, but it will start from high and go to low. So we get it, and lo and behold it's high, and then it drops to low, what we had it set to. Okay, so if you want to combine speed and amplitude, we'll do that now. We have both set in the negative region, so that means that when we get a gate, we go from a high speed to a slow speed, and from a high amplitude to a low amplitude. There we go. And if we turn both of them in the plus direction, we go from 0 to a high amplitude and a fast speed. So we go from a slow speed, because you see the fast speed there and the high amplitude. Once we get it, now we start from 0 and a slow speed. 0 and a slow speed, gradually increase into a fast speed and a higher amplitude. So hopefully you've got that. And thanks for watching the Stephen Mendes channel, and we'll see you soon again.